Well, hello, everybody. It's time again for Street Fight Politics. I'm hosting this week, Harry Ramsbottom, and we've got Doc Eddy in his branch location in the mountains of Arizona. And we have a special guest tonight, Bob Moses. I'll be introducing him a little bit here and later. But let's talk about the big news this week, which is the convention. Kicked off last night. And I'm just going to say right now, I thought it was great. First night went wonderfully well. So, guys, what do y'all think?
Well, I thought from my standpoint, I've been watching, I watched conventions with my grandparents back in the 60s. So I've been seeing these since 1964. So for me, this, it's not the old smoke-filled room, but this had excitement I have not seen in my adult life. Most of the time they're boring, they're predictable. They trot some old guy out, then they, some new guy out. This was like a rock concert. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, just one after another, and just the way they kept coming and just punching Trump in the nose all night long. I mean, it was just spectacular.
But there was an old guy and a new guy, kind of.
Kind of. So
it still had that theme. And yes, it was very exciting. It's a little more personable for me because I've worked with a lot of people that are there, that are working behind the scenes people. And I have I know at least 10 or 15 of my friends that are there. So I'm kind of scouring the crowd, going, you're on camera and you don't know it. That kind of thing. It's just,
you can text them, stop picking your nose.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's actually like I had a friend of mine at a Nationals game who was on the Kiss cam. And it's kind of fun when you get your friend in one of those positions.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Jasmine. I was going to say, I thought Jasmine Crockett had her coming out party last night. I mean,
she's the one that I missed that I wanted to see. I got preoccupied and missed her speech.
This is Barack Obama. What was it, the 2012 convention? I mean, the time before he ran.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, she just came out and was just killed it, crushed it.
2004, 20 years ago. Oh my God, I'm old. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for
that was so long ago. I was Republican then.
And I'm the union guy, and you're going to do my introduction.
Yes.
Last night was union night, right?
Yes.
We had a number of the speakers up there. Obviously, the UAW, they have this new contract, and they unionized Volkswagen, so they were in the highlights. But it did highlight which candidates are sympathetic to labor? Just a little bit?
Just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit. And did anyone mention how many people watched this thing?
20 million people.
20 million people. How many people watched the one a couple weeks ago?
A lot less.
Yeah. We'll get the numbers, but the headline I saw was that it was significantly more. I don't want to put a number out there. But yeah, 20 million watched it last night, which dwarfed Trump's convention
Let's put it like this: Trump is going to be having crowd envy again. So,
you know what is kind of pitiful to me though at these conventions or rallies? The poor Republican parties can't get any music that they can authorize to use.
Well, I thought Taylor Swift was going to sponsor them.
I'm pretty sure I saw a T-shirt that said that. So,
I am like the most cynical person on the planet when it comes to rallies, conventions, whatever. And so I tuned in just to see what was going on at 8:00. And by damn if I wasn't there at 12:30 when Biden finally shut his yap. I just couldn't. I mean, I did other things. I missed Jasmine Crockett because I just got, something else going on. But it was a good show. It was good TV.
I was a little surprised at one thing. So as Joe was going along, and if Joe has a hesitate, the crowd must have been taught to fill it and do a Joe chant.
Yeah.
Right when he was hesitating, I thought it was really well choreographed.
It
in a
came
way.
out well. It came off well. Yeah. Yeah.
It was not like watching the train wreck of the debate.
No. And,
No.
I think they did a really good job setting him up for success. And I think that he did and his family did. By the way, his daughter was fantastic.
Yes.
Oh my God, she was good.
But I mean, I was crying. But they all did a great job in doing the handoff to Kamala. And and by the way, her coming out early for like that 2 minutes or whatever she did, that was like throwing red meat to the lions. I mean, everybody was zinging on that, from her suit to her hair to just her presence. That was really cool. But yeah, so I think we're really off to a great start. Ed, you and I talked a couple of weeks ago about how do you maintain the momentum of what Kamala started 3-4 weeks ago. This is how you maintain the momentum. This is how you maintain the momentum. So I think it's all going to be good. And oh, by the way, latest headline I saw: Kamala raised $500 million in the month.
Wow.
Yeah. That's almost enough
God.
to pay off Trump's legal debt to New York.
Yeah, he's probably sending him notice over now.
And $1 million was in camo hats.
And camo hats to the Democratic Party. You know what? I'm not a ball cap wearing guy, and I look shitty in red. So getting a camouflage Kamala hat, I am down for that. I'm gonna get one. That's where we're going. So.
Well, I tell you, there's one thing that I've run across here in the last couple of days. There's a very Republican pollster named Bob Luntz, who does these polls where he tries to go out and find people that are truly undecided.
Yeah.
And the past 10 days, he has not been able to find one single female under the age of 40 that was undecided. Not one.
Wow.
And so if you want something that should be just terrifying, if you're still a MAGA Q Trumplican, that is something that just tells you you've got a asteroid coming your way.
Yeah, and I keep watching the 538 polling for the swing states, including Arizona, because that's at the top of the alphabetical list, right? And she's ahead in Arizona. And it's going to be close. We all know it's going to be close.
I disagree. I do not think it's going to be close anymore.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to put a bet on that before the election. But
before that, even don't trust the pollsters.
No.
Hillary was up 12 points with a week ago before the 2016 election. So I get that, but I think the polls were undercounting it the last time toward Trump, and everybody swung from undecided to Trump in the last 5 days. It's going to go the other way this time. I think this is going to be a wave election.
I think we're going to see a lot of the Republicans just stay home. They're going to say, you know what, screw this. It's not worth it. I don't want to get involved. And
if we stay with this theme, if we stay with the theme that we have right now, where the Democrats are positive, the Obama theme with the Obama people. Yeah. And if Trump continues with the negative crap that he does,
which he seems to want to do,
the insults, the crowd size, the flailing of the names, all that, it is going to be a landslide. Well, but this race is all about the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's right. Well, you know what? Bob says we can't get you to shut up. I should probably just introduce you now. Who the hell is this guy in the corner? All right. So let me tell the story. A year and a half ago, I went to my local Democratic Party, precinct, whatever group, and we all sat down. And it was for those of you who don't know, Virginia has an election every year. And 2023 was our local election year. And somebody sat across from me and said, we don't have anybody running for school board. Would you like to run for school board? And I said, let me ask my wife.
So good answer.
I went home and I didn't ask my wife because I knew what that answer was going to be. But I, gave it some thought and said, yeah, I think I want to do this. So I called them up and said, yeah, I will do it. And cool. They said, great. Here's what you need to do. And oh, by the way, do you know Bob Moses? You need to call Bob Moses. Let me give you Bob's number. I never met this guy. I didn't know Bob Moses from Moses, for goodness sake. So anyway, call Bob Moses. And he starts giving me facts and figures. And you can tell within like 30 seconds that this is a political operator. I mean, he knows, who to talk to, where to talk to, what form to fill out, where to go. And I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I don't know all this stuff, but he does. So I'm just going to be Bob's friend. And Bob and I became friends. And now we found a better candidate. That was wonderful. Now she has to go to the school board meetings and I get to do this instead. And life is great. And she's fantastic. And maybe I'll drag her on the show sometime. But Bob and I are now friends. We have done some political hijinks together to include coaching other candidates and how to be better candidates. And that's been spotty. One candidate who shall not be named was really just not a good candidate. But anyway, but yeah, we've had a great time. We go out and eat together. We both love good food, good wine, good whiskey, and we love talking politics. You've always got that one friend who just like, yeah, this is my politics guy. And that's Bob. So what makes him that guy, though, is his career. Bob is the guy that got out of college, with a degree in computer something or other, and looking for a job. Economics.
Computer economics?
And
economics. There was no computers then.
We're talking like 1985, right? There weren't a whole lot. He had a Tandy TRS-80. And
you still drew your graphs by pencil.
But his first job, real job, was with the AFL-CIO here in D.C., one block away from the White House, and he fell into the union, and the union loved him. And 30 years later, he retired. And along the way, he knocked on, 50,000, 500, was it 50,000 doors?
50,000 doors.
50,000 doors. One of those people that shows up with a pamphlet in their hand, coaching the people with the pamphlet in their hands. Got married, had a family, moved to suburbia, got involved in local politics because that's where the action is. And that's what I wanted to bring Bob on for, was to talk about, okay, we got all this energy coming out of the convention. We got candidates we love. How do the normal people who, we don't know, we just vote every 4 years. How do we get involved? So, Bob, how the hell do we get involved?
You don't do it my way.
Yeah.
You don't do it my way. I actually think really it's something that pisses you off. So I've watched people come in and out of the party all the time, right? Most people, George W. Bush was a reason people got into politics on the Democratic side. They just had enough of seemed like a very dumb president or somebody running, and they wanted to get involved. Something excites them. And there's litmus tests. But let me tell you how I got involved in local politics, because it's actually a funny story. So I worked at the AFL-CIO, and I started out in the political department. I automated their things. I worked with pollsters. That's how I know. I worked with Cylinder Lake a lot. Handled a lot of data. And then they started teaching me about the politics of things. And when they were short people, they would send me out on little assignments.
And you were just a kid. I mean,
I was under 30, you know, and you look at kids on these campaigns and they're still in diapers. Right? They don't know anything. But I knew the process really well. I knew the behind the scenes process. I knew how we handled our data. I knew the questions we asked. I worked for a separate entity within the AFL called the Committee on Political Action, which is called COPE. And we had field people. They were AFL employees. We had field people, and we went out and we did politics. And I watched all my friends work on national issues. And I was a little confused. Back in the 80s, 25% of the endorsed candidates at the AFL were Republicans. It was not a democratic organization, not at all. So I get involved and I'm doing these things. I'm going on assignment. I'm typical stuff. Well, I'm living in suburbia, and right behind my house was a piece of property. It was a farmland, and it was going to be built light industrial, and they're going to have trucks going in the back of my house. And a builder came along and said they want to make 55 and older community. And I met with the builder. They had a community meeting, and he was getting nowhere. He was failing miserably. And I took him aside after the event, and I said, if you block this one road off here because it's going to cause a couple of lights, you put a couple of ball fields in, you put a buffer in, a couple of little things like that, I'll change your zoning in 3 months. Ask for these couple of things. And I knocked on 800 doors. I got 800 signatures. I got 100% signature of anybody I talked to. I created a zoning called 55 and older in Loudoun County, and we got this development. And the moral of the story is, what I did in a couple of months was a life changer, a quality of life changing thing in my community. Better for me, better for the community, better for the county, financially better. And I watched my friends. I had a close friend. She worked on healthcare policy her entire career. And everything that she did, she never got a vote in Congress. She never got anything passed, never got out of committee. And I didn't want to spend my whole life pushing a pencil, not get anything done. I found that working locally, it's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's not about this and that. It was about quality of life issues. To this day, I work on one of my biggest issues is missing sidewalks. I get very upset when people don't have a sidewalk to walk on and they can get hurt in the road. But those are the little issues. But getting back to why people get involved, it's usually a big thing, a moment. And I've transitioned into local politics. I still love national politics and state politics, but I do believe things that happen locally affect you every day. They affect you more so. Your traffic, your trash, your tax bill, those things affect you every day, not national policy. So that's why I got involved locally, but I transitioned well, and I teach politics. I tried with you, Mike.
You know, you can only.
I tried to get you to run for office.
Well,
what he's not going to tell you though is when he ran, he one of the most toughest school board races in the country. A lot of eyes on it where you live.
Oh, yeah.
And another candidate came along, and somebody handed me her resume. And I thought somebody pulled the meanest joke in the world on me, because that resume was so perfect for running for school board. I thought somebody created it to hand it to me just to goof on me. She had actually been a teacher. She had been a principal, a vice principal, an acting supervisor. She had wrote some of the county's curriculum here, even though she wasn't directly from here. It was
deputy superintendent of the district.
Deputy superintendent. I mean, it's an insane candidate. So Mike did the right thing and stepped aside, and we have a better candidate, and she won. In fact, the Republicans couldn't even put somebody against her.
Let me put it another way. Mike did the right thing, aka Mike dodged a bullet. And like the Toreador, let the bull go by, and she and I are great friends. We still in contact all the time over policy questions. And funny, true story. So they took off July for just summer break, and she texted me the other day and said, I got to go to the meeting tonight. And my response was, I'm so glad you won this race. So it was good. But yeah,
And she had the most important vote she had the entire year was
just
to
last week.
certify the LEA, the Loudon Education Association, to become unionized in the county.
Not only unionized, but as of last week, they have collective bargaining rights. And that
Collective
was
bargaining rights. In
yeah,
Virginia, though, in Virginia, this is a right to work state. There are two things that are completely different here. It's voluntary to be a member. There is no mandatory membership at all. And as the collective bargaining agreement is for the state, no government worker can go on strike.
yeah, still, it's still quite a flag to plant. And I'm proud of her for supporting it. I'm proud of our school board for doing it. And tiny steps, baby steps. Well, Bob, let's get on to the mechanics of this though. Okay, so somebody out there has this issue. They've got a bee in their bonnet and they want to do something about it. Broken sidewalks, bad stop signs, Kamala Harris, anything in between.
Right.
What do they do? Where do they go? How do they actually start making it happen?
So one of the ways is the outreach people that go door to door. When I meet somebody who's really interested, I'm going to tell you a true story that happened on Friday. So Friday, I was out in Leesburg, Virginia, and two of my friends decided to do an anti-protest to the Trump people. Well, we went out there and we held up nice little signs. There was one negative sign, two very positive, maybe Black Lives Matter sign. Anyway, we were up there. We did our hour of protests, and then we decided to go get pizza and a beer. As we're leaving the place after pizza and a beer, somebody saw I had Loudoun County Democrat shirt on. I was stopped by a young 20-something couple. They wanted to know how they could be involved. This, again, actually happened just days ago. I pointed them to the Democratic calendar and said, there's a whole bunch of events. What are you interested in? And they said, well, we're Young Democrats. Do you have a Young Democrat organization? I said, oh, bing, bing, bing. We're just reorganizing our Young Dems. And I also said, tomorrow morning, we're having an event at Dulles Mall. We need some workers. Little did I know that they went to Dulles Mall. They called me at 10:30 and I said, oh, it doesn't start till 11 because where are you? He asked me, where are you? They stayed most of the day. They've hooked up with the party and they're now applying for membership. So that's an example of an outreach. Sometimes, like Mike, you moved to the area and you wanted to be involved in people that were around here and you sought out the party, looked for an event.
I knew though, because I'd already been a candidate elsewhere. So I knew how it worked. I know what the behind the scenes was. But the reality is it's easy. I mean, it's literally as easy as going on the website.
Going on a website. Now, I try not to be cliquey in that group. And if I see somebody new, if somebody's not talking to them, I try to talk to them. And the parties need to do a better job of welcoming people, especially new in the area. I think they need to do that better.
Yeah.
And I'm an advocate when I teach people to go door to door. I can tell you better how not to do it. I watch these campaigns come in and you walk in there and they give you a 5-minute spiel of this is what you're supposed to say. And it's got this speech this long and they hand you a list of 75 doors of material and they say, go there. That's the wrong way to do it. You want this to be fun. A good number of my friends, long-term friends, I met in the Democratic Party and on campaigns. Very like-minded people. You'll really enjoy their company, but you need to you go door to door, you walk with somebody, you talk with somebody.
That's true.
That's how you do it.
And then you go out for pizza and beer afterwards. I mean, no joke.
I'm not joking. There was an assemblyman here that if you walked 100 doors with him, it was pizza and beer, ice cream if it was really hot. He was really appreciative. He always did something after. And today, he hasn't been an assemblyman in 15 years here. This spring, I flew down to his house in Fort Myers and played a week of golf with him. And he was a politician that I met on the road. And now we're, this close.
So let me ask, you've seen this, you being in local politics for as long as you have, let's just say over a decade.
30 years.
Okay, there we go. I wasn't going to say, but your hair is grayer than mine. And
it is what it is.
Okay. So what are the things that newbies should avoid? I mean, what should you not do if you're going to show up and say, hey, I want to get involved?
Okay. The first thing is there are a subset of people that say, I want to get involved. I want to be a congressman. That is not the first step to getting involved in politics. Obviously, getting involved at that level to get elected, you should feel it out a little bit. Talk to your local representative, get appointed onto a commission, do a project, be on a committee, get involved that way. Do it slowly, find what you like to do. It's kind of like retirement. The person who says that I'm going to retire and play golf every day fails in retirement. Okay, the person that does 10 different things a week and finds what they like to do and switches it around and has a lot of friends, that's a person that's really successful in retirement.
Yeah. What you said about, don't start at the top. That's very true. I've seen a number of people that show up and say, I'm really passionate about this one thing and we're going to fix it this year. And you're just like, well, no, you're not. So why don't you sit and watch an election cycle and get to know how things work? And then we can talk about fixing the thing that you want to fix. Because right now, the only person that makes it a priority is you, and you can't do it alone. So
you can't.
Yeah, it really is. You learn a lot about building coalitions in the political game. It's really what it is all about. You can't do it by yourself.
One of the biggest campaigns that I worked on out here was to get approval and funding for the Metro to come to Loudoun County. And I worked with people that I've been opposed to on many issues when it came to the Metro. So there was an awkwardness, right?
Yeah.
People that I had been this way with, now I was this way with for a new issue. And it was kind of interesting to work on. But that's where politics will take you, where you don't expect.
That's what I think a lot of people don't understand when they look at what happens in Congress and they see suddenly, one of our rising Democratic stars working with Marjorie Taylor Greene on something. It's like, how the hell does that happen? Well,
what I can't understand about Congress, though, there's one thing is ratings. If you were to poll, and I've seen these, what's the likeness or rating of Congress? Congress itself is down in somewhere as a favorability rating of 10.
Yeah.
But everybody has a good favorable rating of their congressman.
Not mine.
And so, well,
it's true.
The majority of them, right, is I hate all congressmen except mine.
Yeah.
And it's odd. Congress is designed, in my opinion, it's not designed to pass too much. Congress is designed to keep this country running just the way it is right now and no radical moves. And that's why not much passes out of Congress. And it might be the right thing going on. We don't have, when Trump was in office, the contract on America, not all that got passed.
Yeah.
And not very too liberal things get passed. Congress is kind of the, quicksand or cement, maybe. Cement's a better word for it. It's a glue, a foundation of why this country is so good.
Well, the thing is, though, I think that also becomes a detriment when you start talking about stuff that we do need to act quickly on. It's like, it's been over 110, 86 days in a row here. Now, I'm sure that, if you go back far enough in the past, that's happened sometime, but not in recorded history, and that they can go back 10,000 years and look at. And when you look at issues like AI, which I've been privileged to meet Sam Altman, General Miley on when they were talking about it as related to how it's going to affect our lives. We need to be making decisions right this second on this stuff, and that's where I'm hoping that with this election we've got enough political capital to come in and actually be able to do some of those things. That we can have leadership from the top that comes in and get stuff, get some stuff done. I mean, Johnson had the same opportunity in '64.
This has this year, just as we were discussing before we came on about whether it's going to be a landslide or not. This year has the potential for that, even if it's not a landslide. But if the same people that vote for Kamala vote for their Democratic senators, their Democratic congressmen, their Democratic school board people, they're, straight down the line, then you have the real potential to be able to make that change.
I agree.
But with social media, and I'm going to use a Virginia phrase, one macaca moment, and your candidacy is done.
Yeah.
He dropped 30 points in a 24-hour period.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one social media mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little different from, and it dates me, Dukakis in a take helmet.
No, we were all there. I think that's the first election I could vote
when
in.
I saw that picture, it was like election's over.
Yeah.
it was that obvious. He looked like that Madman, Mad Magazine character.
He looked like a dork.
And the thing is what kills me about it, I've heard him talk. He would have been a very reasonable guy, but it's like you have to have at that level to know how to do the theater. And which is why, we've had, one actor and, others that certainly, should be.
one actor and a failed reality TV figure.
Yeah.
What's really funny about the president's physical stature is that all these people were tall.
Yeah.
Since the camera, they're all tall. It's a presence.
Yeah, it really is. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like I've had the opportunity to meet every president from Nixon on at one time or another. And the one thing they all have in common is when you go into the same room with them, they're in charge. They have a presence about them that I don't know if it's learned or innate, but they command a room. I mean, even I don't like George Bush, W. He comes into a room, he has that presence. Clinton certainly had it. Barack was like, just oozed it. Even Trump, if you were in the same room, has picked up on it enough that I wouldn't like him, but he's in the room.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm answering a question. Somebody's asking if Hitler was a socialist, and I'm just responding, no.
No.
There is a lot to having that bearing and presence, and I think especially at the local level. Bob can attest. We have the chair of our county board of supervisors is an amazingly charismatic person, and she just can carry a room. And when she is in charge, everyone knows it. When she's there, you can almost feel it in the space. And she's gotten an awful lot of stuff done. I'm not going to mention her name because I don't want her stomping me. But
well, to continue that thought, the thing that's I've noticed is if you look at Kamala, you could see her taking on that persona and that mien it's like she's becoming presidential right before your eyes. It's like, she's getting the body language that says, yes, I'm, ready for this job and I will do it.
I'm amazed at how different the feeling is in a couple of weeks. It's like a brand new White House, even.
Oh my God.
And I didn't, before I knew that Obama's people had jumped onto the Harris campaign, I had the feeling it was Obama's campaign. And I guess that's what they wanted to do. And it really changed things. But, the national campaigns are kind of funny because how Trump made Hillary look is not the Hillary that people know.
Right.
Well, but Trump controlled the situation, and he won't be able to do it in this case.
No.
But I've said for years that Hillary lost the election even without the 5 days with the tape thing. When Trump came behind her and was looming behind her, and she just sat there and ignored him, hoping he was going to go away. That completely destroyed her. It made her look, I mean, in my mind, it made her look weak. And I don't think she ever recovered from that. And, Kamala and the younger women, it's like I was talking to my daughter. Man, these 40-year-old women would not put up with that stuff at all. I mean, it's like, 40-year-old would turn around and march him back over to the podium, finger in his face, saying, you come out, I'll put you down. But, that wasn't Hillary's nature. She didn't have that in her. And, I think she would have won the election if she would have turned around and literally shoved him over there.
Well, it's easy to say she lost the election, and she did. Legally, she lost the election. But she won the popular vote. And
Yes.
if Democrats had turned out, she would have won. Just the same way that Biden really only won the election by about, I think, 80,000 votes or something. When you
over
measure
5 states, yeah.
Over 5 states, yeah. So, when I say it's a close run thing, I still think it's going to be a close run thing. It's going to come down to places like Pennsylvania, where she's only leading by 1.5 points, and Arizona, where I think it's like she's up by 0.5 point. So I'm feeling a lot more confident than I was before, but I'm still taking French lessons and getting ready to move to Montreal.
See, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here. I'm going to give you the argument that we need to get rid of the Electoral College.
No
You're
argument.
preaching to the choir.
I know, but it's a different argument than you probably heard.
Okay.
When you have the Electoral College, it does put focus on smaller states that can be competitive.
Yeah.
But it disenfranchises the majority of the country.
Yeah.
So 30% of the country lives in California, and they never had a candidate actually stump in their space.
Because they're taken for granted.
Because the minority gets the majority of the focus.
Yeah.
We're discriminating against the majority.
I think it's outlived its purpose.
It really has. But I do feel it's discriminating against.
Yeah.
Nobody in New York gets a campaign speech, a real campaign speech like they get here that we used to have in Virginia. You actually do want to be a battleground state, because when you are a battleground state, now this actually gets into me a little bit. I started here when we were a red state, and I became an officer of the Democratic Party. And we worked, Loudoun County is Prince William and Fauquier County are things called the exurbs. They are the area around Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And they were away. A few years ago, they were ripe for the picking, right? And we developed a program that energized the exurbs and the people who live there.
When you say we, you mean the Democratic Party?
Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And I was one of those officers at the time. And we turned red to purple. And we became a battleground state. And when you're a battleground state, my God, you get signs, you get money. During the Obama campaign, we had people from other countries fly in to do doors here.
Wow.
We had buses from schools in New York City and New England. We had people that came from Oregon to come here. We had to sponsor people. I actually stopped doing doors in the Obama campaign, and all I did was teach people. I went from location to location teaching people how to do knock doors.
Yeah.
The resources are great, but when you turn again blue and you're no longer a battleground state, it's like, wait a minute, we don't get this anymore?
Well, I'll tell you, living in a battleground state here in Arizona, one of the other things that you're missing out on is every freaking commercial on TV is a
I don't miss that.
commercial.
I don't miss that.
I mean, you'll go from Carrie Lake coming out at the border, we're going to kill babies after birth. And then Ruben Gallego comes on. Yeah, you just go, I mean, literally yo-yo back and forth like that. And then you get a congressman comes in, with their commercials. I mean, it's like after a while, you just like tune it out.
Well, we had the most prestigious congressional primary in the country. And we had 12 people running on the Democrat side, and multiple raised over $1 million. Multiple. And the Democratic candidate who won, I saw a few days ago, and the numbers difference in money when you're not in a battle is incredible. He's not going to raise because he's expected to win big. He's not going to raise half of what he raised in the primary.
It's true. I have lived in mostly single party states for the last chunk of my life until now. And coming here to Virginia, where elections are decided within a couple of points, one way or the other, it's mind-boggling the amount of attention that we get. And of course, because we're only an hour from DC, I mean, Trump National Golf Course is in our county. So you can imagine, how many politicians come out here just for a 1 hour, visit to mix with the locals and then go back into DC. You
should tell the story of Julie.
Well, okay. So you might remember back in the day when Trump was, in his junior years of the presidency, and he drove to his golf course from DC in the big motorcade, basically hogging the road. And there was an iconic picture of a woman on a bicycle with, a finger in the air, flipping them off. Well, that woman rode that picture and that event all the way to our county board of supervisors, where she is well ensconced and will never. I mean, she's gonna die in office. And I'm not, I got nothing against her, but that happened here.
And it was the one thing.
It was the one thing that got her into office, and might be the one thing that keeps her there. Yeah. So
she became the finger lady.
Look her up. Her name is Julie Briskman. I mean, I'm not speaking out of school. You could find out anyway. But yeah, now she's one of our county supervisors, and she's very active and very Democrat. She's absolutely one of the most loyal, deep blue Democrats I think I've met south of the Hudson River.
Well, let me. We're coming up on the end of the show, so I wanted to ask a question for Bob and you. How big a balance does Kamala and Tim get coming out of this convention?
That's the $1 million question.
That's
right?
why I'm asking it.
Is the bounce a couple of points? How orchestrated? How good is this convention? It looks like a great convention.
Well, okay. so based on your experience, what would you think?
I think there's going to be a bump, and I think the bump will be significant. I think the bump is going to fade.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm going to guess that there's going to be at least a 5-point bounce nationally coming out of it. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that in the battleground states, so Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, maybe North Carolina, even Georgia, that she might eke out a solid 3 or 4% lead in each of those states.
Will that put the lead above the margin of error?
That should. Usually the margin of error is about 3%.
And here's the thing, I think, from a strategic point that does is that instead of being able to be the MAGAs and focus all your money in 5 states, all of a sudden now you've got to go start defending Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Supposedly the Senate race is tied in Texas. I don't know how much I believe that, but it's like, because we've been talking about Texas going purple for
years,
20, 30 years now. But if those numbers are real, all of a sudden your money is getting spread very thin. And the one thing that Trump has not done is have any ground game at all. And it's like, you've got 75 days left, 74 days left. How are you going to get a ground game going?
I don't even know if he can get the wrinkles out of his socks and actually be straight on public appearances anyway, because he seems so far gone down the emotional rabbit hole that he's dug himself.
I saw an article on this that said that his campaign was not going to concentrate on doors. I almost thought that was a ruse. It wasn't real. It was to put out for Democrats, but it looks like it.
It does look like it. It does look like it. Well, guys, we have only one thing left to do this evening. And that is because, as I've said before, the convention is in Chicago. And I have heard of this thing called Malort. I think that's how you pronounce it, which is a liqueur that is born, bred, and I think only imbibed in Chicago, that has been described by a close friend of mine with Chicago roots as Satan's ball sweat. It is apparently the worst thing that is for sale that you can drink. And I'm going to try it. So here we go. I haven't even smelled it before.
Salud.
It smells a little absinthe. It doesn't smell bad.
Not like ball sweat.
No, it smells well. If ball sweat was with wormwood and no, okay, but here we go.
No.
Wow, he's getting red.
Okay, that's like the worst mouthwash and medicine. God damn it, that's bad. It just keeps on getting worse. Oh, sweet Jesus Christ. There's not enough. I'm going to have to drink some Alka-Seltzer just to rinse my mouth with. All right, well, God damn it, that's bad. All right, guys, I'm out.
Find water.
On that note, for Flagstaff, Arizona, we'll see you next week.
Bob, come back. We'll have you again.
Absolutely.
See you guys.
All right.